sahabat ini berkumpul menamakan majelisnya majelis menolong, majelis bercita-cita.
Untuk tidak mau ya? Iya, betul.
Perumpamaannya dari rumus cinta ala Al-Qaurismi adalah akan. Agama baik sama dengan 1, cantik sama dengan 0, kaya sama dengan 0, nasab sama dengan 0. Rumusnya, agama ditambah cantik sama dengan 10, agama ditambah cantik ditambah kaya sama dengan 100, agama ditambah cantik ditambah kaya ditambah nasab sama dengan 1000. Cantik ditambah kaya ditambah nasab sama dengan 0. Allazi ahsana kulla syai'in khalaqah. Dialah yang membaguskan segala sesuatu yang Dia ciptakan. Dalam surat As-Sajdah ayat 7. Gak ada yang benar-benar cantik karena cantik itu relatif. Saat ini memang cantik, bisa jadi beberapa tahun ke depan jadi terlihat tak cantik. Karena ada langit di atas langit bro, banyak yang lebih cantik. Namun, kedewasaan, kesabaran, kelembutan, dan ikhlasan wanita tidak relatif. Mereka yang berproses menjadi solihah dari dalam, bukan dari luar, memang teruji kehebatan dan perjuangannya. Beberapa tahun ke depan, juga gak berubah kedewasaan itu. Masih tetap kok membuat nyaman. Bukankah hal yang paling menyebalkan adalah jika harga diri laki-laki itu diinjak-injak? Coba bayangkan, yang menginjak harga diri kita adalah istri kita sendiri. Pentingnya istri solihah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Sikit dan perkenalkan istri saya.
Saya Devina, saya angkatan SPM kedua.
Kalau saya angkatan ke-1 atau pertama. Sebelumnya alhamdulillah banget saya mengikuti SPN atau sekolah pernikahan nubuah. Di situ saya tahu tanggung jawab sebagai suami. Terus selain itu, setelah kalaupun kita udah menikah, banyak banget ilmu yang kita dapat tetap didampingi sama ustadz dan ustazah. Mungkin ada tambahan dari istri saya gimana?
Jadi alhamdulillah kita itu paham fitrah-fitrah antara suami dan istri, gimana caranya supaya tidak tertukar, mendapatkan sakinah, mawadah dan warahmah. Bahkan sampai ke pernikahan ya, kita itu ta'aruf cuma 2 minggu, dari ta'aruf sampai akad didampingi sama ustadz dan ustazah. Alhamdulillah. Jadi buat teman-teman ikut SPN. Dari kami, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sahabat ini berkumpul menamakan majelisnya majelis menolong, majelis bercita-cita.
Untuk tidak mau ya? Iya, betul.
Perumpamaannya dari rumus cinta ala Al-Qaurismi adalah akan. Agama baik sama dengan 1, cantik sama dengan 0, kaya sama dengan 0, nasab sama dengan 0. Rumusnya, agama ditambah cantik sama dengan 10, agama ditambah cantik ditambah kaya sama dengan 100, agama ditambah cantik ditambah kaya ditambah nasab sama dengan 1000. Cantik ditambah kaya ditambah nasab sama dengan 0. Allazi ahsana kulla syai'in khalaqah. Dialah yang membaguskan segala sesuatu yang Dia ciptakan. Dalam surat As-Sajdah ayat 7. Gak ada yang benar-benar cantik karena cantik itu relatif. Saat ini memang cantik, bisa jadi beberapa tahun ke depan jadi terlihat tak cantik. Karena ada langit di atas langit bro, banyak yang lebih cantik. Namun kedewasaan, kesabaran, kelembutan, dan ikhlasan wanita tidak relatif. Mereka yang berproses menjadi solihah dari dalam, bukan dari luar, memang teruji kehebatan dan perjuangannya. Beberapa tahun ke depan, jika nggak berubah kedewasaan itu, masih tetap kok membuat nyaman. Bukankah hal yang paling menyebalkan adalah jika harga diri laki-laki itu diinjak-injak? Coba bayangkan, yang menginjak harga diri kita adalah istri kita sendiri. Pentingnya istri solihah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Sigit dan perkenalkan istri saya.
Saya Devina, saya angkatan SPN kedua.
Kalau saya angkatan ke-1 atau pertama. Sebelumnya alhamdulillah banget saya mengikuti SPN atau sekolah pernikahan nubuah. Di situ saya tahu tanggung jawab sebagai suami. Terus selain itu, setelah kalaupun kita udah menikah, banyak banget ilmu yang kita dapat tetap didampingi sama ustadz dan ustazah. Mungkin ada tambahan dari istri saya gimana?
Jadi alhamdulillah kita itu paham fitrah-fitrah antara suami dan istri, gimana caranya supaya tidak tertukar, mendapatkan sakinah, mawadah dan warahmah. Bahkan sampai ke pernikahan ya, kita itu ta'aruf cuma 2 minggu, dari ta'aruf sampai akad didampingi sama ustadz dan ustazah. Alhamdulillah. Jadi buat teman-teman ikut SPN. Dari kami, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sahabat ini berkumpul menamakan majelisnya majelis menolong, majelis bercita-cita.
Untuk segala mau ya.
Perumpamannya dari rumus cinta ala Al-Qaurismi adalah angka. Agama baik sama dengan 1, cantik sama dengan 0, kaya sama dengan 0, nasab sama dengan 0. Rumusnya, agama ditambah cantik sama dengan 10, agama ditambah cantik ditambah kaya sama dengan 100, agama ditambah cantik ditambah kaya ditambah nasab sama dengan 1000. Cantik ditambah kaya ditambah nasab sama dengan 0. Allazi ahsana kulla syai'in khalaqah. Dialah yang membaguskan segala sesuatu yang Dia ciptakan. Dalam surat As-Sajdah ayat 7. Gak ada yang benar-benar cantik karena cantik itu relatif. Saat ini memang cantik, bisa jadi beberapa tahun ke depan jadi terlihat tak cantik. Karena ada langit di atas langit bro, banyak yang lebih cantik. Namun kedewasaan, kesabaran, kelembutan, dan ikhlasan wanita tidak relatif. Mereka yang berproses menjadi solihah dari dalam, bukan dari luar, memang teruji kehebatan dan perjuangannya. Beberapa tahun ke depan, jika nggak berubah kedewasaan itu, masih tetap kok membuat nyaman. Bukankah hal yang paling menyebalkan adalah jika harga diri laki-laki itu diinjak-injak? Coba bayangkan, yang menginjak harga diri kita adalah istri kita sendiri. Pentingnya istri solihah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Sigit dan perkenalkan istri saya.
Saya Devina, saya angkatan SPN kedua.
Kalau saya angkatan ke satu atau pertama. Sebelumnya alhamdulillah banget saya mengikuti SPN atau sekolah pernikahan nubuah. Di situ saya tahu tanggung jawab sebagai suami. Terus selain itu, setelah kalaupun kita udah menikah, banyak banget ilmu yang kita dapat tetap didampingi sama ustadz dan ustazah. Mungkin ada tambahan dari istri saya gimana?
Jadi alhamdulillah kita itu paham fitrah-fitrah antara suami dan istri, gimana caranya supaya tidak tertukar, mendapatkan sakinah, mawadah dan warahmah. Bahkan sampai ke pernikahan ya, kita itu ta'aruf cuma 2 minggu, dari ta'aruf sampai akad didampingi sama ustaz dan ustazah. Alhamdulillah. Jadi buat teman-teman ikut SPN. Dari kami, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sahabat ini berkumpul menamakan majelisnya majelis sebelumnya, majelis bercita-cita.
Untuk tidak tahu ya.
Perumpamaannya dari rumus cinta ala Al-Khwarizmi adalah akan. Agama baik sama dengan 1, cantik sama dengan 0, kaya sama dengan
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in amma ba'du. First of all praise to be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the merciful, the most merciful and the beneficent one of creators the world, and to all the mankind that we are in here. Because of him, we can gather together in the good condition inshallah, and also in the good situation as well. And salawat dan salam also my praise to our beloved prophet, which is the prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the prophet who is really loved by Allah and has guided us to choose the best choice, the way of Islam, namely Islam. So first of all, I would like to welcome to all the participants. Here we are, which is in the lecture. We talk about Muslim in Europe. There will be some speakers as well, which is they are foreigners, and also for all the participants, we are held by Dakwah Islam. So I really hope we can really watching through and really concentrate what we do, what we learn, and what we listen to for tonight. Because whatever we have accept the information tonight, I really hope it can be applied in your life in hereafter. So, and also attention for everyone. Let me read the attention. There's attention. Because we would gain some knowledge about Islam, I suggest you to be prepared to have your own notes, like a paper and then also the pen, and politely dress, because that's one of the manner of to get some knowledge. And also please be kind with full attention of our topic tonight, because probably we're going to learn a lot regarding Muslim in Europe and also travelers. And don't forget also to have a wudu. Why to have a wudu? Because it's just a little bit. We learn something. The knowledge is coming from Allah, and Allah will come with us, which is if we are in the good condition, which is in the wudu, in the very clean. So Allah will be transferred is very easily. So it's like one of the manner as well to gain the knowledge of the Islam. Yeah. And I would like to introduce a little bit about the Dakwah Islam. It seems still like in 7:21, and later on we will start the rundown starting from 7:30 which is in Jakarta times, and the speakers we will opens by Mr. Akbar or Ustaz Akbar Nazary Muhammad. He is the founders of the Dakwah Islam. Before that, let me tell you about the Dakwah Islam. Dakwah Islam, it's one of the community of Muslim, which is we are in Indonesia, and we have in some of the cities that in Indonesia. For example, like Surabaya, Semarang, Jakarta, Tangerang, and also Kendal. There are a lot of the cities which is in Indonesia. It's based of the community of the Islam, and then mostly we are the youngsters, like from the junior high, or senior high school until probably in the college, or maybe someone who has a marriage and a family, they're still join with us. Why? Because in Dakwah Islam, there are a lot of, there are some of the programs. One of them you can see before, there is a video regarding the marriage and also regarding the Institute Sirah Nabawiyah, which is the history of the Prophet. So the program, the school of the marriage, it's still open for the next following, which is you can follow by the Instagram. There will be sekolah.pernikahan nubuwah for the Indonesian as well. And also for the program, the Institute Dakwah, which is the Institute Sirah Nabawiyah, you can see the Instagram will be in the Institute Sirah.Dakwah Islam ID. And probably all the name of the Instagram account you can see in the downstairs later on, which is in the comments of the YouTube. And please, for everyone, because we're going to speak in English, and some of us, because all the audience, which is they are foreigners and also they are Indonesian, probably we will have we will use the comments of the YouTube for our translation. So please be kind for everyone during the lecture. Do not put any comment at all, because it's gonna use for the commentators, or we can say the subtitle. So you can listen and you can read what's the topic about. And also about the question and answer, please be kind for everyone. Please prepare your question, and then you can easily submit the question, and question will be in the YouTube comments, and I will read it, and I will choose, and I will read it, and I will give it to our lecture. And also, Dakwah Islam is one of the community for the Islamic, which is we grow together with the Ummah. We have to get the generation of the Islam must be spread in around of the world, especially in Indonesia now. And then I really hope for everyone who want to get like coaching by Ustaz Akbar, or the coaching by Ustazah Diana, you can simply send the email, not send an email. You can simply contact by the WhatsApp, which is the admin. You can simply just tell your name and also your domicile, or where are you from, and you can tell them that you are in you really want to have the coaching of the Islamic ways. So at the moment, baik. Jadi jadi dicampur untuk bahasa Inggris dan bahasa Indonesia. Jadi untuk bahasa Indonesianya tadi mungkin udah dijelasin tentang peraturannya juga. Dan juga jangan lupa teman-teman, saya mau kasih tahu yang untuk di bawah komen situ, jangan dibelikan untuk komen sama sekali, karena nanti kita akan gunakan itu untuk komentator ataupun subtitles yang akan kita gunakan untuk subtitle. Nah, terus tetap kita harus memperhatikan adab kita dalam berilmu, karena memang untuk ilmunya itu kita harus beradabnya itu seperti apa? Ambil catatan, jangan lupa bikin catatan, terus berwudu, pakaian yang bagus, yang rapih, dan juga kalau bisa jadikan itu sebagai waktu memang untuk beribadah juga. Kenapa? Karena di situ kita menggain some knowledge. The knowledge, pengetahuan datangnya dari Allah. Jadi kalau misalnya kita suci, kita baik, insya Allah ilmu itu lancar ya, udah kayak pokoknya lancar. Dan juga teman-teman yang mau donasi, jangan lupa ada di bawah komen of the YouTube, itu ada donasinya, itu bisa dikirim via bank CIMB atau via Dana, bisa dikirim di bawah, atau misalnya ada kesulitan dan lain sebagainya, bisa dikontak juga ke admin kita, yang dimana admin kita yang teman-teman daftar juga, bisa dikontak ke mereka seperti apa proses-prosesnya. Dan tetap kita tentunya menunggu untuk teman-teman untuk bisa juga ikut pembinaan sama kita. Yang tadi saya sudah jelasin, mungkin tadi teman-teman lihat banyak ada video tentang sekolah pernikahan nubuwah, ada institut Sirah Nabawiyah, yang dimana di Institut Sirah Nabawiyah itu menjelaskan tentang Sirah Nabawiyah, dan untuk yang pernikahan nubuah itu benar-benar membahas tentang hal bagaimana kita harus mempersiapkan pernikahan. Nah, mumpung ada batch selanjutnya di batch 3 dan batch 7 dan 8 untuk yang sekolah pernikahan nubuah, nanti teman-teman cek sendiri, kepoin sendiri untuk Instagramnya, ada akun Instagramnya, tolong dicek, nanti bisa didaftarin juga. Dan kalau misal mau lebih dari sekedar pengetahuan tetapi juga mau ukhuwah bareng sama dakwah Islam, ikutin pembinaan dakwah Islam yang nanti langsung di coaching sama Ustadz Akbar dan juga sama Ustazah Diana untuk yang akhwatnya. Oke, baik. Sekarang waktu sudah menunjukkan 19.27. Untuk teman-teman sudah siap pastinya, jangan lupa untuk prepare semua keadaannya. Jangan lupa untuk di good condition. Oh ya, Debran belum bacain rundown ya? Debran bacain rundown dulu. Ada rundown di sini yang dimana kita akan mulai nanti jam 7.30. Akan dimulai dari Ustadz Akbar yang speech-nya is our Dakwah Islam Founders. Dan juga nanti dimulai sampai dari jam 7.30 sampai 7.45. Dan setelah itu dari 7.45 sampai jam 8 itu akan ada speech dari Ustadz Pompy. Beliau adalah Muslim Travelers dan Businessman from Pacitan. Pacitan itu tadi udah ditanya itu dari Jawa Timur. Dan negara-negara yang pernah dikunjungi ini banyak banget. Ini ada 9 negara yang mostly itu ada di
Semarang
Prancis.
aja.
Oh, ini 9 negara kan Ustadz? Masya Allah.
Dari Semarang aja. Dari Semarang aja, jangan di Pacitan. Ya.
Oh ya udah Semarang. Dan kalau
Tinggalnya di Semarang, tinggalnya.
Oh, ya, kalau untuk tadi negara yang dikunjungi sama Ustadz Pompy, itu ada negara Prancis, Belgia, Belanda, Jerman, Swiss, Yunani, Spanyol, Britain. Britain itu UK ya? Ya, Britain
UK.
and Turkey. So, buat teman-teman, especially juga kalau misalnya mau nanya tentang negara-negara tersebut, yang mau nyari beasiswa atau yang mau nyari cuma sekedar liburan, it's a good choice to have this kind of lecture, jadi bisa tanya langsung ke beliau. Nah, nanti mulai dari jam 8 sampai jam 8.45 itu akan ada speech dari Mr. Luqman, which is our brothers, Mr. Luqman Muqeem. Dia tinggal di UK dan dia itu adalah seorang dakwah aktivis dan sosial media aktivis juga. Jadi kayak kita lah, pendakwah lewat sosial media dan pendakwah aktivis juga. Dan juga beliau itu berprofesi sebagai mechanical engineer by profession. So the profession is mechanical engineer. Oke, baik. Sekarang sudah waktunya 19.29. Masih 1 menit saya bisa berbicara di sini. Ya, nanti tetap jangan lupa untuk pertanyaannya disiapin, bisa langsung dikasih, ditaruh di komen YouTube, tapi ketika nanti saya buka. Karena sebelum itu nanti akan digunakan kolom YouTube-nya untuk untuk translation yang nanti di sesi terakhir. Baik. Itu terkait dakwah Islam, dan tetap yang saya nggak capek untuk mengingatkan adalah di bawah komen YouTube ketika misalnya teman-teman bisa lihat, itu kan ada chat. Nah, di bawahnya itu kan ada tentang dakwah Islam. Dan itu memang kita ada dakwah Islam di situ, terus juga ada Instagramnya juga, terus ada juga untuk bank account, rekening bank account. Dan terkait untuk Instagram tadi yang program-program yang nanti akan dihadirkan, itu nanti bisa dilihat Instagramnya ada di komen. Nah, karena waktu sudah menunjukkan 19.30 dan alhamdulillah Ustadz Akbar dan Ustadz Pompy juga sudah berada di tengah-tengah kita. Mungkin waktu dan tempat Anda persilakan. Sebelumnya untuk MC, mohon maaf apabila banyak kesalahan dan banyak ngomongnya. Nanti kita bisa ketemu lagi. Nanti setelah Ustadz Luqman saya akan kembali lagi. Dan tetap dijaga niatnya, luruskan niatnya, dan kita patuhi semua, bukan protokol ya, tetapi lebih kayak adabnya dalam berilmu. Itu aja, silakan Ustadz Akbar, untuk waktu saya persilakan. Tafadhol Ustadz, Assalamualaikum.
Baik, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina ma ba'du. Wallahu ta'ala fil kitabihil karim. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya ayyuhalladzina amanu in tansurullaha yansurkum wa yutsabbit aqdamakum. Shadaqallahul azim. Allahumma sholli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Inilah pertama-tama kita panjatkan puji dan syukur kehadirat Allah atas kuasanya kita diizinkan untuk bisa kumpul di malam hari ini di YouTube ini, dan semoga Allah Subhanahu wa taala senantiasa menjaga kita ya. Menjaga kita dari maksiat, menjaga kita dari hal-hal yang buruk, dan kemudian Allah memberikan kita kemudahan untuk mendapatkan ilmu ya, ilmu Islam khususnya, dan semoga Allah memberikan kepada kita istiqomah ya, keistiqomahan di jalan Islam ini sampai ajal menjemput kita. Yang kedua, salawat serta salam tidak lupa kita limpah curahkan kepada Rasulullah Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Salawat serta salam semoga terlimpah curah kepada beliau, kepada para keluarganya, para sahabatnya, dan mudah-mudahan kita tetap istiqomah di jalan Islam ini sampai Allah memanggil kita. Alhamdulillah teman-teman semua, ahlan wa sahlan, bienvenue, welcome ya, di keluarga besar Dakwah Islam, di channelnya Dakwah Islam TV. Dan insya Allah hari ini kita akan membahas satu tema yang sangat menarik tentang Muslim di Eropa. Tapi sebelum itu saya ingin memberikan sedikit masukan dan sekaligus mengingatkan lagi bahwa nanti akan ada dua bahasa ya, two language, satu berbahasa Inggris, satu berbahasa Indonesia. Kemudian yang kedua, nanti ada penerjemah dari tim kita ya, insya Allah, yang akan membantu untuk mempermudah kita untuk bertanya. Tapi kalau misalkan mau nanya pakai bahasa Inggris langsung lebih bagus ya. Nanti insya Allah dibantu oleh Mas Moderator ya, Mas Debrian. Nah kemudian sebentar saya akan memaparkan sedikit tentang kenapa sih kita malam ini bicara tentang Muslim in Europe ya. Kebuka. Coba dulu ya. Hilang ya. Muslim in Europe, janji Islam dan kebenaran Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Nah teman-teman semua, kenapa kita bahas Eropa? Karena ini hal yang menarik ya, bahwa ketika Rasulullah selalu mengajak kaum muslimin untuk berpikir penaklukan kota Roma. Itu posisi Roma itu ada di mana itu ya? Nah, posisi kota Roma itu kalau kita perhatikan ya, ini adalah wilayah daratan Eropa. Posisinya di bawah, di samping Prancis, di atas Laut Mediterania ya, di sampingnya Yunani. Dan ini dihembuskan, diceritakan oleh Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sebagai bisyarah bahwa penaklukan Konstantinopel itu juga dulu wilayahnya wilayah Roma ya. Dan masuk hari ini tetap masuk wilayah Eropa secara geopolitik gitu ya. Nah tapi kenapa sih Rasulullah selalu mengajak kita berpikir ke dunia Barat? Karena dunia Barat itu jadi kiblat sampai hari ini ya. Paris kota mode, Italia kota mode, ya. Milan kota mode, ya. Kota fashion gitu ya. Terus kemudian Inggris sebagai rujukan dunia, sebagai sistem pemerintahan politik dan budaya gitu. Itu menjadi kiblat ya. Hari ini sampai hari ini gitu. Bahkan Eropa selalu dijadikan sebagai pembahasan. Bahkan kemarin ketika ada pembahasan kontroversial, Presiden Prancis itu ya, itu juga di daratan Eropa. Nah, tadi malam saya komunikasi dengan salah satu teman saya di Nantes ya. Nantes itu di wilayah Prancis, namanya Monsieur Eric. Jadi saya tanya gimana kondisi Islam di sana, ternyata dalam kondisi yang kurang baik gitu ya. Bahkan banyak masjid yang tidak bisa dipakai karena pemerintah Prancis sendiri mengumumkan untuk menutup sementara karena masih dianggap tempat untuk melakukan konsolidasi dan seterusnya. Itu kemudian itu jadi perhatian kita. Tapi kita akan kembali ke masalah kenapa sih dakwah Nabi selalu bicara tentang kebesaran Barat yang jatuh nanti. Gulibati Rum itu dalam Al-Quran kan bicara gitu, akan jatuh Roma, dan Roma posisinya ada di Eropa. Nah hadis Nabi SAW ya, dulu Abu Kubail bercerita itu. Ketika sedang bersama Abdullah bin Amr bin Al-As, dia ditanya ya kepada Rasulullah ya, kota manakah yang akan dibuka terlebih dahulu, Konstantinopel atau Roma? Kemudian Abdullah meminta kotak dengan lingkaran-lingkaran miliknya. Kemudian dia mengeluarkan kitab, lalu dia berkata, ketika kita sedang menulis di sekitar Rasulullah SAW, beliau ditanya, kota manakah ya dulu yang ditaklukkan, Konstantinopel atau Roma? Dan kemudian Rasulullah SAW kemudian menjelaskan bahwa kota Heraklius dulu yang lebih dibuka lebih dahulu, yaitu Konstantinopel. Nah, berarti ada satu kota lagi yang hari ini masih menjadi misteri untuk kita. Bahkan ketika penaklukan Konstantinopel, ini ada penjelasan dari Syekh Albani, ya, penaklukan pertama itu Konstantinopel telah berhasil direalisasikan melalui tangan Muhammad Al-Fatih Al-Utsmani. Seperti yang telah diketahui, penaklukan itu terrealisasi setelah lebih dari 800 tahun, 825 tahun, ya, sejak kabar gembira itu disampaikan oleh Nabi SAW. Dan pembebasan kedua itu penaklukan kota Roma dengan izin Allah juga pasti akan terrealisasi. Sungguh beritanya akan Anda ketahui di kemudian hari. Tidak diragukan lagi bahwa realisasi pembebasan kedua itu menuntut kembalinya Khilafah Rasyiddah ke tengah-tengah kaum muslimin. Ini penjelasan seorang ulama bernama Syekh Albani yang kemudian menjelaskan tentang kota Roma ini akan menjadi PR untuk kita. Nah, maka ini menarik karena visi kita akhirnya punya lagi, ya. Kita punya visi yang terakhir, bagaimana penaklukan kota Roma di masa yang akan datang. Nah, teman-teman semua yang dirahmati Allah Subhanahu wa taala, artinya kita diberikan hope, diberikan harapan oleh Rasulullah dan oleh Allah untuk selalu meminta pertolongan, ya, bahwa kota pusat kotanya atau juntung kotanya Eropa itu di Roma, insya Allah akan diambil oleh kaum muslimin kelak. Tapi kita nggak tahu kapan. Kita hanya bisa berharap bahwa dalam waktu dekat insya Allah kita mudah-mudahan diberikan kesempatan, dan bahkan nggak bicara siapa tapi bicara kita, gitu ya. Bicara kita bahwa kita insya Allah, kalau nggak kita berarti keturunan kita. Maka siapkan keturunan kita nanti untuk menjadi pembebas Roma di masa yang akan datang. Nah, teman-teman semua Allah Subhanahu wa taala, ini terakhir dari saya bahwa Rasulullah SAW sudah jasadnya sudah wafat, ya, tapi semangatnya, kemudian perilakunya, semuanya ditiru oleh generasi setelahnya. Bahkan ketika ada penulis dari Skotlandia, ini dari Eropa juga, namanya Thomas Crale, ya, dia bilang dalam bukunya One Worship Heroes, ya, kepahlawanan dalam jubah Nabi. Ya, Nabi Muhammad SAW, Crale menempatkan Muhammad sebagai salah satu tokoh besar dan heroik dalam sejarah dunia dengan mengatakan, karunia paling berharga yang diberikan Tuhan kepada makhluk duniawi adalah seorang jenius seperti Muhammad SAW yang diwahyukan kepada kita melalui pesan ilahi dari dunia yang lebih tinggi. Biarkan mereka memanggilnya apapun yang mereka inginkan. Tidak ada kekaisaran dengan mahkota dan tahta yang begitu ditaati seperti ini. Sehingga pria ini dalam jubah sederhana yang dijahit oleh tangannya sendiri, yang telah menanggung semua penderitaan dan cobaan hidup yang paling sulit selama 23 tahun dan telah mengalami banyak kesulitan. Saya secara pribadi melihat dalam dirinya semua karakteristik pahlawan sejati itu aja. Dan aku ingin memberitahu semua hal baik dirinya sehingga aku bisa mengatakan yang sebenarnya. Kebohongan yang telah dikumpulkan di sekitar pria ini hanya membuat kami jelek dan memalukan. Jadi dalam pandangan Barat, orang-orang yang punya akal, mereka akan berpikir bahwa Rasulullah ini adalah tokoh besar yang punya nilai karismatik yang sangat tinggi. Ya, teman-teman semua. Nah, artinya sosok terbaik ini bahkan menjadi teladan kita harusnya hari ini, ya, dalam kehidupan, dalam hidup kita, dalam keseharian kita, dalam rumah tangga kita, dalam ekonomi kita, bahkan dalam politik kita. Insya Allah dengan cara berpikir yang kemudian kita arahkan untuk meniru cara berpikirnya Rasulullah, maka kita insya Allah akan ikut jenius seperti yang dipaparkan oleh Thomas Crale. Beliau ini hidup di abad ke-17, jadi 1700-an, dan beliau seorang sastrawan, bukunya banyak banget, jadi jangan diraguin lagi kalau secara kualitas keilmuan. Tapi walaupun seperti itu, beliau tidak mengambil Islam, ya. Jadi ini hanya pandangan beliau terkait Rasulullah SAW. Nah, kita kembali kepada Roma tadi. Insya Allah Roma akan segera takluk dan insya Allah tidak dalam waktu yang lama lagi insyaallah. Mungkin itu pengantar dari saya. Selamat menyimak nanti paparan dari sahabat saya dari Birmingham, ya, Mr. Luqman. Beliau seorang aktivis dakwah di Eropa dan kemudian sebelumnya akan diselingi oleh Ustadz Pompy, ya. Apa ya namanya ya? Mr. Pompy. Mr. Pompy, ya, insyaallah beliau akan punya banyak history ya di UK karena baru saja sampai di UK itu tahun ini ya. Tahun 2020. Jadi beliau ini harusnya udah berangkat lagi ke luar negeri, ke mana ya waktu itu ya, Yerusalem, tapi terlockdown ya. Nah, insya Allah beliau akan menyampaikan beberapa pesan dan nasihat. Nanti mungkin yang ingin traveling, karena saya yakin di room ini pasti banyak banget yang ingin traveling ke luar negeri ya. Itu ya, jadi ingin keliling dunia mimpinya, tapi terlockdown itu menghancurkan semua harapan. Tapi insya Allah kita akan belajar nanti dengan beliau. Tapi intinya begini, sebelum kita menyimak nasihat-nasihat dan cerita-cerita yang menarik dari Mr. Pompy, saya ingatkan lagi ke teman-teman semua untuk taat dengan aturan main di sini, ya. Insya Allah pembahasannya menarik. Nanti pertanyaan akan diterjemahkan dengan 2 bahasa. Ya, jadi pertanyaan-pertanyaan boleh disampaikan dan kemudian kalau ada yang memang tidak tidak ada yang perlu ditanyakan, tidak perlu ditanyakan. Jadi pertanyaannya juga jangan pertanyaan yang terlalu rumit atau terlalu mudah, tapi pertanyaan yang pas dengan pembahasan malam hari ini. Insya Allah berkah selalu teman-teman semua. Kalau ada kurang mohon maaf. Insya Allah saya kembalikan lagi kepada moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ya, waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, itu dia tadi dari Ustadz Akbar. Alhamdulillah udah opening speech from Ustadz Akbar. It was simple, but it's really deep in the meaning because it's about the Islamic and it's about the generation and about the hadith saying about our victory, about before it's about Constantinople and also later on it will be Rome. So the next speech, it will be held for Mr. or Ustadz Pompy. Alhamdulillah, he is already in our channel now, and kindly you can use in English as well. If it's okay, because I'm sure that you are always traveling like 9 countries in the world. So I'm pretty sure that you have heavily influent in English speaking as well, because alhamdulillah we have audience which is some foreigners and also mostly Indonesian. So by the time for you and the manner, it's yours. So please have it your time, sir. Assalamualaikum.
Masih di mute, Tad.
Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahilladzi arsala rasulahu bil huda wa dinil haq liyudhhirahu 'ala dini kulli walau karihal musyrikun. Allahumma sholli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad wa ala sahbihi wa tabi'illahu yamidin amma ba'd. Teman-teman yang dirahmati Allah, jamaah dakwah Islam, sobat-sobat dakwah Islam yang di malam hari ini bisa bergabung dengan acara webinar ya Muslim in Europe, Islam in Europe ya. Terima kasih telah memberikan kesempatan ya saya hadir di sini untuk sharing kepada teman-teman sobat dakwah Islam semua ya. Semoga nanti apa yang saya sharing gitu kan bisa bermanfaat. Oke. Saya akan membuka pertama dari hikmah dari sebuah safar atau perjalanan. Jadi kadang-kadang ada beberapa ada beberapa orang itu kalau traveling itu sekedar traveling atau cuma untuk nyari spot-spot IG yang kemudian diupload ya, kemudian bisa wah gitu lah sebagainya. Maka sekarang itu kan banyak yang tempat-tempat viral, makanya banyak hobi baru yaitu traveling. Kalau kita cuma seperti itu, maka nilainya itu bukan nilai ibadah. Ya, karena apa? Karena traveling itu salah satu yang dianjurkan oleh Rasulullah SAW. Ya, kita mungkin yang pertama ya, kalau pengen tahu tentang karakter sahabat Anda, ajaklah traveling. Nah, itu kan ya. Ya. Umar bin Khattab juga bilang seperti itu, bahwa kalau Anda itu tahu tentang teman Anda enggak? Anda tidak akan pernah tahu teman Anda kalau belum yang pertama traveling bareng atau safar bersama atau bermuamalah. Ya, jadi kalau misalnya di dalam safar tersebut itu muncul sifat-sifat asli, kadang-kadang seperti itu. Dan yang kedua, bahwa safar itu dianjurkan bagi para tulab, para pencari ilmu. Ya, kita tahu bahwa bagaimana perjalanan Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, Imam Syafi'i dan sebagainya itu mencari ilmu itu sampai ke jauh, ya. Kalau misalnya kita bayangin ya, Imam Bukhari itu tempat tinggalnya itu adalah di Bukhara. Bukhara itu daerah Transoksiana, Asia Tengah, ya, Samarkand. Itu untuk mencari sanad, mencari rawi, memastikan, memverifikasi dan lain sebagainya itu sampai ke Mekah, sampai ke bahkan itu kalau kita hitung mungkin sampai ke 3.000 km lebih naik unta. Luar biasa safar itu. Dan yang ketiga adalah niat traveling itu membawa hikmah-hikmah, yaitu ketika kita niatnya ibadah, yaitu bagaimana membawa hikmah di tempat-tempat kita safar tersebut. Nah, ini saya sharing di sini mungkin hikmah-hikmah tersebut. Nah, alhamdulillah pada saat ini mungkin kalau di Eropa sendiri saya ada 9 atau 10 negara ya yang sudah kita kunjungi. Dan spiritnya itu apa? Spiritnya yang pertama, ada kadang itu di negara-negara tertentu itu bahagia ya, karena melihat perkembangan Islam yang luar biasa, masjid-masjidnya bagus dan sebagainya. Ada di sebuah negara-negara Eropa itu yang membuat kita juga menangis sedih. Kenapa? Karena banyak sekali masjid-masjid yang sudah terkonversi menjadi gereja. Ya, umat muslimnya yang dulu mayoritas berubah menjadi minoritas dan terlupakan. Nah, mungkin ini yang saya yang saya sharingkan, yang sedih dulu atau yang bahagia dulu. Ya. Nah, mungkin yang sedih dulu ya, mungkin yang sedih dulu. Spanyol, ya. Saya 2019, ya. Salah satu mimpi saya itu adalah mengunjungi Cordoba, yaitu Andalusia, ya. Yaitu sebuah pada abad ke-7, yaitu abad tahun ke-711 ya Masehi, sebuah daerah, sebuah wilayah yang dulu diliputi kegelapan. Kemudian Tariq bin Ziyad dan Musa bin Nusair datang ke sana memberikan cahaya Islam sehingga tanah Hispania tersebut, tanah Andalusia itu terang dengan peradaban Islam selama 800 tahun. Nah, ini mimpi saya itu setelah Haramain, ya, Makkah, Madinah, kemudian Turki, kemudian ke Spanyol. Alhamdulillah diijabah tahun 2019. Kurang lebih sekitar 15 hari lah saya di Spanyol, keliling-keliling kota-kota, bekas-bekas dari kejayaan Islam pada waktu itu. Sangat sedih sekali. Kenapa? Yang pertama, kalian jangan sedih. Masjid besar, Masjid Jami Cordoba, ya, itu yang sekarang itu letaknya itu di provinsi Andalus, ya, ibu kotanya Cordoba. Kalau sekarang itu provinsi, daerah otonom, negara bagian lah ya, negara bagian ya gitu. Kalau dulu itu Andalusia itu ya se-Spanyol itu, bahkan plus, ya, karena di zamannya di tahun 700-an yaitu salah seorang gubernurnya Andalusia pada waktu itu kan, Andalusia itu kan di bawah khilafah Umayyah, itu bahkan sudah masuk ke Perancis, itu kota Tours ya. Kota Tours itu sekitar 10 mil dari Paris. Itu sudah dalam pangkuan Islam. Islam itu sudah sampai Perancis, menguasai Perancis selama 2 tahun. Ya, artinya Spanyol dan Perancis itu dalam dekapan Islam. Nah, ketika saya ke Cordoba itu, ketika menginjakkan pertama kali di sebuah masjid yang pada zamannya itu masjid tersebut itu mengalahkan Makkah, mengalahkan Madinah besarnya. Daya tampungnya pada saat itu 10.000 jamaah Masjid Cordoba. Ya. 10.000 orang itu, ya, daya tampung Masjid Cordoba ini itu sama dengan jumlah penduduk di kota Paris. 10.000. Ya, jumlah penduduk kalau masa lalu itu menandakan betapa besarnya ini kemajuannya. Semakin maju sebuah kota itu ditandai dengan padatnya penduduk. Ya. Jadi kita bayangkan bahwa 10.000 itu jumlah daya tampung dari Masjid Cordoba ini, yang dimana pada masa itu kota Paris itu cuma 10.000 aja penduduknya. Tapi 2019 lalu alangkah saya bercucuran air mata ketika masuk gerbangnya. Ya, sekarang namanya adalah Katedral de Mosquito Cordoba. Artinya apa? Gereja katedral yang namanya itu Masjid Cordoba. Masjid Cordoba itu adalah sebuah nama dari sebuah gereja. Sekarang jadi gereja. Jadi masjid yang menjadi kebanggaan umat Islam pada abad ke-8, 9, 10 Hijriah, Masehi, itu sekarang jadi katedral dan museum. Jadi ada wilayah di daerah, karena betapa luasnya masjidnya itu, ada yang jadi katedral, ada yang jadi museum. Saya keliling-keliling di masjidnya, membayangkan luar biasa. Mihrabnya masih sempurna, bahkan teknologi waktu itu, ya, sebelum ada pengeras suara imam ketika sholat itu, teknologi audio ruangnya itu sampai ke pojok-pojok. Artinya nggak perlu pengeras suara, tapi makmum di paling belakang itu bisa mendengar suara imam. Kemudian saya mengunjungi sebuah kota, Madinatu Az-Zahra, sebuah kota terbaik pada masanya. Teknologinya luar biasa. Sekarang tinggal puing. Kemudian saya ke salah satu kota yang dulu pernah jadi ibu kota, ya, Andalus juga, Sevilla. Ya. Sevilla dulu beberapa ratus tahun menjadi ibu kota saat Islam di sana dikuasai oleh dinasti Murabitun. Gereja Sevilla, masjid Sevilla terbesar pada waktu ketika khilafah ada itu, sekarang berubah jadi katedral Sevilla, yang dimana dia itu katedral terbesar kedua di dunia. Masjid, gereja katedral terbesar kedua di dunia. Dulunya masjid. Ya. Dan masih banyak lagi kota-kota di Spanyol, masjid-masjid di Spanyol yang sekarang itu bukan menjadi masjid lagi, tapi menjadi gereja. Namun sama saja, gereja yang saat masjid dikonversi menjadi gereja, gereja pun tidak ramai, karena kebanyakan orang-orang Spanyol itu juga agnostik, tidak percaya sama agama, ya. Dan ya, ketika kami pergi ke Cordoba itu juga jamaah gerejanya nggak ada. Artinya juga orang-orang muda di Eropa itu juga apatis dengan agamanya mereka. Oke, itu setahun yang lalu, kisah duka di Cordoba, di Spanyol. Kemudian di awal pandemi tahun ini, ya, sebenarnya juga ketika saya berangkat Maret kemarin, itu penuh kedebar-debaran ya, karena kita sudah mendengar Wuhan itu ada pandemi di sana, ya. Namun apa namanya belum di Indonesia itu belum ini ya, belum ada. Sudah ada yang di Depok itu. Namun karena tiket itu sudah dibeli beberapa bulan sebelumnya, sudah arrange, trip sudah kita arrange. Nah, akhirnya kita juga mau nggak mau kita berangkat ke UK. Nah, masih fresh kalau di UK Maret kemarin. Dan alhamdulillah kita bisa berkunjung ke beberapa masjid di London, Manchester, kemudian di Skotlandianya di Edinburgh, kemudian di Glasgow, ya, di Liverpool, di Cambridge, ya. Nah, itu. Nah, ada beberapa insight ya yang saya kira menarik sekali untuk mungkin kita beri pelajaran. Ada beberapa masjid yang spesial di sana. Misalnya di Masjid London gitu ya. Mungkin saya share ya biar ada ini ya. Saya share. Saya bisa screen ya di sini. Oke. Jadi di Islamic Center London itu ada konsep masjid sebagai ini ya. Nah, ini Islamic. Mungkin apakah di sana sudah tampil? Ya. Ada Islamic Cultural Center di London di sini. Konsepnya itu adalah sebuah masjid yang dimana tempat keluarga itu berlibur ya macam-macam ya beraktivitas lah sehari-hari ya seperti itu. Nah, saya ininya ya tampilan masuknya, gerbang masuknya ya, bentar ini
Kesini kelihatan nggak Pak?
Dan dalamnya itu mungkin ini lebih ada video. Islamic Center itu ada konsep masjid sebagai ini Islamic. Mungkin apakah di sana sudah ada Islamic Cultural Center di London di sini. Ada videonya ini tempat keluarga itu langsung. Nah, ini sebuah masjid yang dimana di dalamnya itu ada konsep, ada restonya, kemudian ada library-nya, ada tempat pokoknya ketika kita masuk ke dalamnya itu semuanya bisa dapat ya. Jadi bisa makan, bisa nyantai-nyantai, bisa ada tempat pengajiannya juga. Ini gede banget ini Islamic Center di London ini, luas tempatnya. Di lantai bawahnya itu ada tempat resto untuk makan-makan gitu ya di sini. Nah, ini bawah gitu ada restoran. Nah, ada restoran di bawahnya, dan seperti itu. Oke. Nah, ini tempatnya. Kemudian dalam masjidnya luas, ya, luas. Karena ini memang sentralnya di London ya, di London Central London. Ada tempat. Jadi ketika keluarga itu masuk di sini, misalnya satu keluarga pengen weekend misalnya itu pengen berlibur di sini dan sebagainya, itu sangat enak sekali, nyaman lah ya. Ini suasananya di Islamic Center London. Dan yang kedua ada sebuah masjid yang mungkin insight juga ya bagi kita ya. Ada masjid disebut eco mosque. Nah, masjid yang eco itu maksudnya ini ya, green ya. Konsep masjid green masjid. Kenapa? Karena masjidnya itu kalau siang itu tidak pakai listrik ya, penerangan dan sebagainya itu hampir semuanya itu menggunakan cahaya natural dari matahari. Nah ini ya, jadi setiap pilar di sini ya, di sini di atasnya ini ada sistem penerangannya yang luar biasa menurut saya ya. Bagaimana itu cahaya sedikit masuk tapi pecah gitu ya, jadi terang gitu kan ya. Ini pilar-pilar ya, di sini ada cahaya masuk ya. Nah ini berada di dekat kampus Cambridge, sekitar 5 menit lah ya sama kampus Cambridge itu. Ya. Dan di sini tak perlu AC banyak-banyak karena konsepnya juga bebas ya, air udara itu hembusannya itu bisa bebas dan sebagainya. Ya, ini enggak tampil ya? Tampil ya. Oh iya. Nah ini. Oke. Nah, Eco Mosque di Cambridge ini bukan hanya tampilan menggunakan pencahayaan dari matahari, kemudian sistem sirkulasi anginnya itu natural tanpa AC dan sebagainya. Ini juga ada ruang yang memang bikin terpukau. Mungkin kalau di sini saya belum pernah ada ya. Ya, dia adanya ruang exhibition. Ya. Ruang exhibition itu apa isinya? Ruang exhibition itu isinya itu menampilkan kejayaan Islam. Ya. Yaitu ada penemuan-penemuan Islam di sana ditampilkan ya. Ada Ibnu Al-Haytham ya. Bagaimana penemu kamera itu kan orang Islam. Kemudian macam-macam dari sini. Jadi ketika masjid itu ada yang diambil itu bukan hanya ini, tapi hampir seluruh bidang itu terwakili gitu ya. Bisa dilihat ada astrolab ya, ada astrolabnya Maryam Astrolabi ya. Macam-macam teknologi Islam pada kejayaannya itu ditampilkan di sini semua. Di masjid ini, di teras masjid itu ada ruang eksebisinya. Ya. Dan bayangkan ketika seseorang ketika habis masuk ya, ini bebas, ini orang-orang non muslim ini bisa masuk ke sini. Ketika habis masuk itu gratis dikasih sebuah buku ya, buku invention ya, penemuan Islam itu. Saya juga kebetulan juga dikasih juga buku tersebut ya. Nanti bisa saya ada 3 mungkin 1 nanti bisa dikasih sebagai kuisnya ya. Nah ini eksebisi ini di masjid dekat kampus Cambridge ya. Ini di London loh ya, ini bukan di negara Islam ya, ini di London. Nah itu luar biasa. Biasanya Muslim di ini ya, Cambridge ini dekat kampus ya, Cambridge ini menampilkan Islam itu dengan wajah yang luar biasa, sehingga membuat orang itu mungkin sangat tertarik sekali mencari tahu Islam itu secara lebih dalam. Oke. Ini kayaknya waktu saya sudah kelebihan 5 menit. Tapi saya sebentar, ada untuk penutupnya ya. Saya ke Yunani, ya. Jadi kalau kita bicarakan ini senang ya perkembangan Islam di London ini ya. Yang bagus tuh perkembangan Islam di London, di Belgia. Di Belgia itu bahkan saya kaget ketika masuk ke kota, ibu kotanya ke Brussels, ya, ke Brussels ini. Itu ketika berada di perkotaan, di komplek perbelanjaan, itu banyak sekali orang-orang lokal di sana itu yang pakai kerudung. Artinya Islamisasi di Belgia ini luar biasa. Ya, banyak sekali orang-orang lokal itu yang pakai kerudung bebas di jalan-jalan. Ternyata memang perkembangan mereka sampai sini sekarang mungkin sekitar 15-20% ya jumlah muslimah di Brussel atau di Belgianya. Nah, kalau di Yunani, jadi Yunani itu ya negara Yunani itu Eropa yang paling sini itu adalah bekas atau dulu pernah dalam pangkuan Islam selama 300 tahun ya di masa Muhammad Al-Fatih ya sampai ke abad 18 karena ketika abad tahun 1828 ada gerakan kemerdekaan di Yunani yang kemudian membuat kekhilafahan Utsman waktu itu diusir ya. Jadi seperti itu. Nah, banyak sekali masjid-masjid yang di Yunani itu juga terkonversi. Namun terkonversinya di Yunani itu bukan ke gereja, tapi lebih banyak ke gudang, dijadikan museum dan lain sebagainya. Bahkan ada Masjid Fatih itu juga sekarang jadi museum yang tidak terawat. Mungkin banyak yang nggak tahu juga bahwa Parthenon, Akropolis, ya, sebuah tempat yang paling ini ya simbolik di Yunani, itu dulu juga pernah jadi masjid ya selama 300 tahun ketika di bawah kekhilafahan Utsmani. Saya sudah berkunjung ke sana dan ya sedihnya itu ketika saya mencari-cari masjid di sana, di Google Map itu kan banyak ya, masjid, macam-macam. Saya selalu setiap hari, setiap bangun tidur, subuh itu, pasti kita nyari pertama itu, sekarang hari ini ke masjid mana? Gonta-gantian gitu. Di Athena, itu kita explore. Dan di sana sangat sedih sekali bahwa di Yunani itu ada larangan pembangunan masjid secara resmi. Namun masjidnya itu berupa rumah-rumah atau ruko-ruko yang disulap, yang disulap jadi masjid, gitu kan ya. Dan di sana ya sedih sih ya, sholatnya di seperti itu. Tapi alhamdulillah sambutan dari orang-orang Islam di Yunani itu bagus sekali. Jadi ketika saya subuhan awal gitu jam 4-5 itu langsung disuruh makan dulu biryani, terus baru sholat. Itu ya hal yang ini ya. Terima kasih waktunya sudah boros ini ya. Saya korupsi nanti. Saya serahkan lagi.
Alhamdulillah.
Ya, oke. Okay.
Jazakallah Ustaz Pompy. Ya, sama-sama. Jazakallah Ustaz Pompy. Alhamdulillah, we heard the story about his traveler to the Europe, which is there are a lot of things about what's going on in the mosque and also the Islamic ways in Europe. And at the moment, which is in the last lecture, we already, Alhamdulillah, Mr. Luqman is already in our this meeting. So you didn't see because we not show you yet. But don't worry, he's here already. But let me introduce a little bit about Mr. Luqman. So his name is Mr. Luqman Muqeem. He lives in UK and he is a Dakwah activist and a social media activist as well. And his profession as a mechanical engineer. And there are some of the story of him, which is his education background, which is in Indonesia we call it doctor. But all of there is, for example, for the bachelor's, he took in the Stoke 6 from college, Stoke-on-Trent, and for the master degree, there will be Staffordshire University, which is in the UK as well, and the last one, which is for the doctor, will be in the Aston University in the Birmingham. And he is all of the major if he takes as engineer, which is about the mechanical engineer. That's why he can be a mechanical engineer. So today he will talk about the story of the Europe, Islamic Europe, what's going on over there, because he live over there and he really knows what happens about the Islamic in the Europe, and also about the routinity, about the habits, and also how the Islamic react to other people in the Europe, especially to the Islamic people. And so please everyone, don't forget to prepare the notes and everything, because this is really like we share the information between Indonesia and Europe. So please stay. Don't go anywhere. Don't distract with anything. So please, for the time, it's yours, Mr. Luqman. I can give it to you for this stage for the lecture to start. Thank you, Mr. Luqman. Assalamualaikum.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. To all of you, for inviting me, for giving me the honor, for giving me the pleasure to give this speech, this topic, this presentation, mainly to our brothers and sisters in Indonesia, and inshallah brothers and sisters all over the world. If I'm just going to share my screen now, my presentation, I hope you don't mind. Just sharing it. Okay, so I hope you can all see my screen. Let me just make this full screen. Just give me 1 second, please. Okay, so, oops, sorry. Sometimes my computer will pop up, but I'll just take it off. So let's start, inshallah. Muslims in Europe. To begin with, my own introduction. I think the Ustad, he gave it nicely. My name is Luqman. I live in the UK. I live in Britain. I don't live in Birmingham. I don't live in London. I live north of Birmingham. Yeah, it's a small town called Stoke-on-Trent. Very small city. Now, the topic I've got, Muslims in Europe. What is it like to live in Europe? What is the attitude of the government towards Muslims in Europe? Before I address these topics, we need to go into some history, little bit of history between the Muslim world and the European Western world. And this is very, very important. History is very, very important because we need to know how is it that Muslims like myself, we ended up in England, in France, in Germany, and Russia. How did this happen? So to begin with, some history. The earliest contact, the history of Europe with Muslims, the earliest contact between the Muslim world, the Islamic world, and the European world was between the Khilafah Rashida and the Byzantium Empire, the Romans. Yeah, so we know during the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he sent a letter to Heraclius. He was the emperor of the Byzantines at that time, in the 600s, the late 600s, and this was basically the first interaction between Muslims and the European Western world. We know after this, in the Khilafah of Umar radiallahu anh, that the Muslims, they ended up fighting. The Khilafah of Umar radiallahu anh started fighting against the Byzantine Empire, and it took a lot of Byzantine lands. So the Muslims, very, very early on, very, very quickly, they took what we know today as Jordan, they took Asham, they took Palestine, they took Al-Iskandariya, Alexandria, Cairo, Egypt. They carried on going. All of northern Africa, the Muslims took from the Byzantines. And not only that, but later on, in fact, the war, the fight, the battle between the Muslim world and you can say the Romans and the Roman ancestors, it started from the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it continues till today. The battle, the fight continues till today, even right now. Yeah. So after this, after the Muslims initially took a lot of Byzantine territory, the Muslims, you know the story of Tariq ibn Ziyad. he moved, he went from Al-Maghrib, he went from northwestern Africa, and he went north up into the Iberian Peninsula, Spain, Portugal, and we know, I'm sure you've heard of Andalusia. Yeah, Andalusia is Muslim Spain. And this is where the Muslims, they reached all the way to the French city of Tours. Yeah, this is a city in France, in Tours, in the 700s. The Muslims had a battle with the French people, or with the European people within France, 80 kilometers from Paris. Yeah, this is quite amazing. The Muslims were only 80 kilometers from Paris. That is how far they got into Central and Western Europe. The Muslims lost the battle of Tours, and they had to concede all the way back down to Andalusia. And the Muslims, they kept Andalusia for about 700, 800 years. It was a very, very long time. Also, after this, you had in the 1000, the 1100s, you had the Crusades. Yeah, the Crusades is when, if you can see in the bottom right picture, the Crusades is where the European Christians from England, from Germany, from France, from Italy, they came into the Muslim world, and they took back Jerusalem. You know, Al-Quds, Masjid al-Aqsa, they took it away. Yeah, they inhabited and colonized that land for about 90 years. Yeah, they had the Kingdom of Jerusalem, Kingdom of Antioch. They had these different, you can call them citylets, statelets, across the Levant, across the coast of the Levant. And we know the story of Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi in 1187. He came and he removed the European invaders from the Holy Land, Masjid al-Aqsa, Jerusalem, and the Europeans, they went back into the heartland of Europe. So this is a general history between the Muslim world under the Khilafah of the Rashidun, the Abbasids, up to the Uthmanis. What happened at the time of the Uthmanis? We know that they took Istanbul, Constantinople, in 1453. So this conquering of Constantinople, it led to the end of the Byzantine Empire. However, the Roman people and the European people, of course, they still existed. And what we find is, after this, if I go to the next slide, change it on my phone as well. The next slide, what happened is, after the Europeans, after they were defeated up until the 1500s, then they had the Industrial Revolution. They had the period of enlightenment. This is where we'll go through it in more detail. This is where the Europeans, they started to remove Christianity from the politics, from their worldly life, and they started to adopt what we call secularism or capitalism, as you know better. So the Europeans, they started to become colonialist, they started to become capitalist, they started going outside of Europe, and instead of fighting with each other, they started to go outside of mainland Europe, and they invaded literally the rest of the world. Yeah, literally Europe invaded every single continent and almost every single country on earth. This is a fact. For example, we have an example here. I know majority of the audience is from Indonesia, and if you look in the top column, the Dutch, you know, the Dutch from Holland, Netherlands, they actually they colonized Indonesia for about 150 years, nearly 200 years. I was quite shocked when I heard this, because you don't really hear about the Dutch that much. You hear about the British, you hear about the French, you hear about the Spanish, you don't hear about the Dutch. The Dutch, they colonized Indonesia. This is where you guys are from right now, for almost 200 years. We know the British Empire, for example, the British Empire, they colonized parts of the Muslim world, you know, for up to 300 years. You know, even before the official British Empire in 1858, even before this in 1600, Britain set up the British East India Company in 1600, and it colonized what we know as today Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Burma, Myanmar. So, they colonized all this land and the rest of the Muslim world as well. Egypt, Palestine, Iraq, Jordan, the Gulf states, Yemen, Sudan. You can see it on the map. All of the red is where the British Empire, they colonized majority Muslim land. Of course, they colonized all of the American land as well. They colonized all of Canada as well. So this is European history. If you look at the French and the bottom column, again, they colonized loads of Muslim land. They colonized Algeria for a very, very long time. Algeria was basically the last Muslim colony, or the last direct Muslim colony of France, only till 1962. This is basically in our grandfather generation. They colonized Tunisia, Morocco, Mali, Nigeria, many Muslim countries, Syria, Lebanon. You can see it on the map. So they colonized all of these areas. So you might be thinking, well, why am I going in history? What is the need for me to go in history? Well, I have to go through the history because you're going to ask me, or people are going to assume, people are going to ask the question, why are there Muslims in Europe? There are so many Muslim countries. The Muslim world has a vast landmass. What are Muslims doing in Europe? And the answer to the question is on this slide. You see, when the Europeans, when they colonized Muslim land, they didn't go to make the land better. They went in, they killed many people. They stole many of the resources. Many of the resources they stole. For example, in the British Empire, under the Prime Minister they called Churchill. Churchill, he was the British Prime Minister. When he was ruling over the Indian subcontinent, he exported so much food that 3 million people died in what is known as the famine of Bengal. So the region of Bengal, 3 million people starved to death because Churchill, he exported so much food and he didn't leave any food for the native people. So this is the result of European colonization. Now, when you colonize a land, when you remove all of its resources, when you make life difficult for the Muslim living there, then naturally people, they need to feed themselves. People, they need money. People, they need to protect their families. People, they need to, make sure that the lives they're providing for themselves and their relatives is, with security, with prosperity. And because the Europeans went into Muslim land, they made the land unstable. They colonized Muslim land. They destroyed the Khilafah, the Osmani Khilafah, the Ottoman Khilafah. They destroyed the Khilafah. They pillaged and ransacked the Muslim world. So the Muslim world had to look towards the Europeans to go back to Europe. They had to go to the country that colonized them in the first place, just so that they could survive. And this is why we have Muslims in Europe today. So, sorry. These are some of the statistics of Europe and of Muslims in Europe. So, total population of Europe is 740 million people. I know Indonesia is, nearly half of this. So, well, 1/3 of this. So 1/3 of Indonesia, 1/3 of Europe is the same as all of Indonesia. So it's not a huge continent. So 740 million people. From this 740, you have about 40 million Muslims living in Europe. So that's about 5 or 6%. 5 or 6% of Europe is Muslim. This includes Russia, Albania, Kosovo, Bosnia. It includes all the semi-autonomous regions in Russia, Dagestan, Chechnya, includes all of these. It only doesn't include Turkey. Yeah, so Turkey is excluded, but other than Turkey, the rest of the Muslim population in Europe makes up about 5%. Majority of the Muslims, they come from Russia, about 13 million, people in Russia. You have about 6.5 million in France, 4 million in Germany, 2.5 million in the UK, 1.2 million in the Netherlands. Now, there's something very interesting I want to share with you. France has 6.5 million Muslims. Majority of the Muslims in France, do you know where they come from? Do you want to have a guess? Majority of the Muslims in France, they come from Algeria and Morocco. Interesting. We'll see why in a bit. The UK has 2.5 million Muslims. 30% of Muslims in the UK come from Pakistan and Bangladesh. Yeah? And 30% of Muslims in Netherlands come from Indonesia. Now, can you see the relationship? The relationship is when France colonized the Muslim world, the area that are colonized, the people from that area went back to France. So France colonized Algeria and Morocco. Majority of its Muslims are from Algeria and Morocco. The UK colonized Pakistan and Bangladesh and India. Majority of its Muslims are from Pakistan, Bangladesh and India. The Dutch, the Netherlands, they colonized Indonesia. Majority of its Muslims are from Indonesia. So you see a correlation there. You see a correlation of direct colonialism where these countries went in to the Muslim countries, they ruined the Muslim countries, and then they allowed those Muslims from them countries to go back to their homelands because they needed workers. Yeah, World War I and World War II, etc., etc. Cheap labor, slavery in some cases as well. They needed immigration and population. So, clash of creeds. What do I mean by this? See, in order to understand what it's like for Muslims to live in Europe, you need to understand exactly the European ideology and the Muslim ideology. Otherwise, you can't really make the link. You can't really make an understanding of what's going on in Europe. From the very foundation, from the very basis, from the very aqidah, there's a difference. From the very aqidah, both ideologies are opposite. The European ideology of capitalism is completely opposite to the Islamic ideology. Yeah? What's the difference? What's the main difference? Well, of course, as Muslims, from Islam, we believe in the aqidah of Islam, which is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, with no partners, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who regulates the life of human beings. Yeah? So if you have a economy problem, we look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. If we want to get married, we look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to get married. If we're hungry, we look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to eat our food. If we want to make a treaty or an alliance with a foreign nation, we look to how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed us to make a treaty or an alliance with another nation. Yeah? So our aqidah firmly rooted in the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in the fact that all of our problems and all of our affairs, they have to be regulated from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On the other hand, what's the European aqidah? What is the aqidah of the Europeans? The capitalist ideology, its aqidah is secularism. Yeah? I will use the word capitalism because you can understand it better. But the main belief in capitalism is to remove Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from your problems. from politics, from the affairs of the people. So if you want to pray to Allah, no problem. If you want to, worship Allah individually, no problem. But if you have an economy problem, you can't go to Allah to solve it. Human beings will solve it. This is the European philosophy. If you want to get married, you don't go to Allah to get married. You get married however you want to get married. In fact, according to capitalism, you don't need to get married. Yeah, you can have a haram relationships, girlfriend, boyfriend, homosexuality. You can, no problem. This is the Europeans. The Europeans, this is what they say. If you have, if you want resources, if you want wealth, if you want oil, what do these nations do? They go into Western Africa, for example, just like France has done. They kill some of the people in Mali, in Niger, and they steal uranium. Steal it straight from the ground. Why? Because they don't believe in Allah Ta'ala. They don't believe that their laws need to be regulated from a God. Yeah, it's man-made law that Allah will not. This is what they say, that Allah will not get involved in the way we run our life, and therefore we remove Allah from politics. We remove Allah from our affairs. Now it might start being made a bit more sense of when it comes to the situation that Muslims are living in Europe. Why? Because European ideology is different from Islamic ideology. Opposite. Capitalism is opposite to Islam. Yeah? Opposite to Islam. And this is going to cause friction. This is going to cause problems. This is going to cause a clash of ideas. This is what we call a clash of ideas, a clash of creeds. I'll go on the next slide. So, sorry. Clash of values. Because our aqidah is different, because the Islamic aqidah is different from the capitalist aqidah, then whatever comes from the aqidah, whatever stems out from the aqidah, is also going to be different. It's also going to be opposite. And we find Muslims in Europe, people view us as different. People look at us as these are strange people. These are weird people. These people are different. These people, they don't eat like us. Even small things, they will notice. We say Bismillah before we eat, right hand, we can only eat certain foods. Yeah, they find that very strange. Oh, we can eat and drink with our left hand, we can eat pork, we can drink, alcohol, etc. Even the way we dress, the Muslim woman in Europe who wear the hijab, who wear the niqab, who wear the jilbab, she is viewed like an alien. Like an alien from space. This is how the general masses, they view the Muslim woman. They view them as aliens. Even the way, even our language, even the words we use, even when we greet one another, we say Assalamu alaikum, and everybody, the person opposite says Wa alaikum assalam. This is very, very strange to the European way of life. This is very, very strange to the capitalist, secular, Western way of life. They find this really difficult, really odd, really alien to understand. So, what has this led to? See, Europe, its attitude towards foreigners, its attitude towards migrants has always been to come into their land, to live under their system, and over time they will integrate. Over time they will assimilate. Over time they will leave their values and they will take our values. Over time they will leave Islam and they will take capitalism. Now, for all the non-Muslims that came to Europe, this is exactly what happened. Some of the people from Far East Asia, from China, Japan, or the Korean Peninsula, the Philippines, Singapore, the non-Muslims who come from there to Europe, now they are no different to the Europeans in the way they think. Yeah, some of the Christian Africans who came from Africa into France and the rest of these European countries, today, they are no different to the rest of the European in the way they think. They've adopted secularism, they believe in freedom, they believe in capitalism, they believe in all these things. But the Muslims, for the Western governments, the Muslims are a problem. Why? Because the Muslims, they didn't integrate. The Muslims, they didn't assimilate. The Muslims, they didn't just get the Quran and put it behind them and pick up capitalism. The Muslims, they didn't just, let go of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they picked up the Western European way of life. No. When the Muslims came over, when the Muslims came to Europe, they didn't want to let go of Islam. They didn't try to sacrifice their deen to adopt the European way of life. In fact, the opposite happened, whereby the Muslims, they showed a no compromise attitude, to the best of their ability, of course, a no compromise attitude towards adopting anything other than Islam. So what happened because of this? There was a lot of pressure on the Muslim community. Huge pressure on the Muslim community. Because the Muslim community in Europe, it didn't willingly and it didn't naturally adopt the Western way of life, what happened? The governments, they decided that the best way, the best approach towards the Muslim community will be the iron fist approach. Yeah? Iron fist approach means, you squash the Muslims in the pressure. You make them adopt capitalism. You don't want to adopt capitalism willingly? We're going to make you adopt capitalism, willingly or unwillingly. Yeah? And remember, it's very important. The battle between the European powers, the European government, the capitalist way of life, and Islam in Europe is not a physical battle. Yeah? It's not a physical battle. Yet, of course. Yet. But at the moment, it's not a physical battle. Yeah? At the moment, the French government hasn't massacred Muslims within France. Yeah? The British government hasn't massacred Muslims within Britain. Yeah? The German government, the Russian government hasn't massacred, well, the Russian government has actually. The German government and the rest of Europe, generally, the government has not turned against its own Muslim community within Europe and killed it. Rather, the attack is an ideological attack. It's a battle of hearts and minds. The battle of who can convince who of whose idea. Whose ideas are stronger. Whose ideology is stronger. Whose way of life makes more sense. Who's got the better arguments. This is the battle between Islam and the capitalist European Western way of life. This is the battle that's going on. It's not a physical battle. It's an ideological, intellectual battle. And we'll see many examples of this. We'll see examples of this, if I can just get it up. In the UK, in England, Europe, for example, like we said before, 2.5 million Muslims live in the UK. Majority of them are from Pakistan and Bangladesh. Yeah? In fact, majority of them are from Pakistan and Bangladesh. My own grandfather, he migrated from Pakistan to the UK in 1962. Yeah? So ethnically, from back home, according to my DNA, I'm Pakistani. Yeah, I'm from Pakistan. My grandfather came over in 1962. Yeah, so about 60, 70 years ago. Yeah. Now remember, the UK has got a 4% Muslim population. They don't mind you praying in the masjid. Yeah, they will give you funding for mosques. The British government, they will let you open halal meat shops. The British government, they will let you have a beard. The British government, they will let you, to a certain extent, wear hijab. Yeah? But the moment Muslims start viewing Islam from a political point of view, the moment Muslims start calling for a Islamic system, the moment Muslims start calling for, the resumption of Islam in the world today, then they have a problem with you. Then they start with something that we know, Bush and Blair, they started war on terror. Remember 2001, Afghanistan war, Iraq war, they started the war on terror. We need to go into these Muslim nations and give them capitalism, and we're trying to fight against terrorism, etc. It wasn't terrorism. It wasn't a war on terror. It's not a war on terror. It's a war on Islam. The problem is Islam. The problem is political Islam. And, we as Muslims, we don't pick and choose which part of Islam we can take, which part we don't take. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has given us Islam as a complete package, and we need to take it as a complete package, the political parts and the non-political parts. Yeah? So, it is a war on Islam. And from this came something called prevent. Prevent, for example, if you can see the picture on the right-hand side, in the middle, on the right-hand side, you can see a drawing. Yeah, you can see a drawing there. This drawing was made by a young boy in school, primary school, small boy, small Muslim boy. He made a picture of his family cutting a cucumber. The vegetable, cucumber. He was cutting the cucumber. The teacher asked him, what is this a picture of? And he said, a cooker bomb. Or they thought he said a cooker bomb. He tried to say cucumber. I think he was like 6 or 7 years old. He tried to say cucumber, but they thought he said cooker bomb. So they called the police. They called prevent. They started questioning the boy. They took the little boy away from the parents, started questioning the parents, started questioning the boy. Huge drama over nothing. Over absolutely nothing. And we know that the British government, for example, has made evil remarks, evil quotes against Islam. For example, the current Prime Minister of the UK, Boris Johnson, he said that Muslim women who wear the niqab, they look like bank robbers. Yeah? The Prime Minister of the UK said that the Muslims who wear niqab, they look like bank robbers. People that rob banks, they look like letterboxes. Yeah? And what has this led to? Because of all this propaganda and this stigma against Islam, against Muslims, this has led to big problems. Yeah? For example, far-right groups, anti-Islamic groups. If you can see the picture in the top right corner, you have people, kuffar in the UK are protesting, no more mosques. We want to close the masjids. You have kuffar within Europe who are protesting, we want to ban halal meat. No more halal meat. This is what they're calling for. Yeah? We've had attacks. People, Muslims within the UK have been attacked from the normal population. For example, my own mother, her hijab was pulled off in UK. Yeah? So it happens. It's not this is not some kind of propaganda. My own mother's hijab was ripped off on the streets of the UK. So these attacks, they do happen. This hatred to Islam and to Muslims, it does exist. Yeah? Even if when I'm in work, you feel pressure. They come to me in work. Oh, Luqman, do you want to come have a Christmas party with us? Come on, we can have Christmas party. We will give you some wine. We can do Secret Santa with each other. We can do Secret Santa with each other, and we can all get along nicely. And you feel pressured. But you've got to take a stand. You've got to say, actually, no, thank you very much. As a Muslim, I don't believe in any of this kind of stuff. I respect your own decision to do whatever you want, but please, with all due respect, don't get me involved. Yeah? I'm not concerned with any of that. It goes against my belief. It goes against my aqidah. I have different values to you. I have different norms to you. Don't take it the wrong way, but I'm not interested. Khalas. Bye-bye. See you later. But it's difficult to do that. It takes some courage to do that. Because straight away, already you're on the back foot. Already you feel like you have a stigma attached against you. And within all this, you have secular imams. Capitalist imam, like in the picture in the middle, This Imam, you know what he was calling for? Anybody know? He was calling for Muslims in the UK to join the British Army and to fight abroad. Yeah? This British Imam was calling for Muslims in the UK to join the British Army and fight abroad. What is this? This is not acceptable. This is absolutely not acceptable. And what is the government doing? The government is coming and saying, oh look, your Imam said it's okay. Your ulama said it's okay. Your own people are saying it's okay. So they try to trick the Muslim into this kind of belief. The Muslim community do not accept this. I don't know of many Muslims at all who accept this Imam, for example. And there are many Imams like him who are on the government funding. You know, anything for a bit of money. If you go to the next slide, France, you know, this stigma and this pressure and these attacks on Islam and Muslims, they exist not only in the UK, they exist by and large across all of Europe. If you look at France, for example, 6.5 million Muslims, 10% of the population, that's quite significant. That's a quite significant proportion. They banned the niqab. Check that. Where's your freedom? Where's your tolerance gone? Why don't you accept all values? Where's your multiculturalism that you champion so much? A woman wants to cover her face for the sake of Allah, and they've banned it. But the entire nation, the entire world wants to cover their face for the sake of coronavirus, and they've made it fard. They've made it compulsory. They made it mandatory. Yeah? These are the kind of values that the European, Western, capitalist nation, these are the kind of values that they're giving to the Muslims. Yeah? And the Muslims don't like it. We know, everybody knows what's happened recently with Emmanuel Macron and Charlie Hebdo and the cartoons of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They've got 10% of their population is Muslim, and they put a cartoon of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the government building for the entire nation to see. Why? Why? Because they don't like Muslims. They've got a problem with Muslims. You don't want to accept our freedom of speech? We're going to make you accept our freedom of speech. You don't want to accept our, cartoons, etc., etc.? We're going to make you accept our cartoons so much that we're going to put the cartoon on the buildings of the nation. Check that. Look at this. Yeah? And we know you can see the Muslim woman in the bottom right. She was arrested. She was fined for wearing the niqab. We can see the picture in the bottom left. 70 odd mosques and madrasas within France have been closed down only in the past few weeks. And we know also in the past few weeks, I think 140 Muslims have been deported from France and sent back to the Muslim world on charges of extremism, on charges of failing to integrate. Yeah, this is the kind of pressure that is coming from Europe onto the Muslims of Europe. Even, a few weeks ago, 2 French Muslim women, they were stabbed by French citizens under the Eiffel Tower. Check this. These are big problems that the Muslims are facing. Why? Because this whole idea of Islam being evil, Islam being violent, Islam, being barbaric, it has led to a rise in hatred and demonization, not only from the government, but now also from the population against the Muslims. Why? Because Islam is not compatible with the Western way of life. Islam and capitalism, they cannot mix. They are anti each other. They are opposite to each other. And therefore the government, they try to force it down. Other examples include, for example, Germany. Again, many regulations, many different bans. Hizb ut-Tahrir has been banned in Germany. Some state schools have banned the niqab in Germany. Yeah, even though it's got a significant Muslim population, these people, they do not care. They do not believe in the values that they preach. They do not believe in tolerance and equality. Look at the far right and anti-Muslim sentiment within Germany. Huge. One of the biggest far right groups in Europe is in Germany. AfD, the Action for Deutschland, which is, Germany, Action for Germany, look at the picture in the top right, Islamists, not welcome. Islamists, you're not welcome in Germany. It's our country, we don't want you here. If you look on the bottom left, they're showing Islam to be barbaric. They got a picture of a supposed Muslim, the banner says Islam on it, holding a knife, and they do not like Muslims, they do not like Islam. This fear and alienation has been created from their own governments. So, just to very quickly finish off, inshallah, I know I'm running out of time. What impact has this had on the Muslim community? Well, to start with, the pressure, the policy change, the propaganda, the alienation, the battle between the Islamic ideology and the capitalist ideology, it continues to rage on. It continues to rage on. This is even when the Muslims do not have the Khilafah, even when Muslims do not have a spokesperson, even when the Muslims have absolutely zero influence in the European world, and even when Muslims in Europe, like myself, born and bred and raised in the system, and have gone through the education system, and have interacted and intermingled with the rest of society, the fact that you cannot convince your own population that have been living there from day one, the fact that you still cannot convince them of your ideas, it shows what a failure the European capitalist way of life is. And yes, don't get me wrong, by and large, there have been parts of the Muslim community that have been affected by secularism, have been affected by capitalism, European values, that have been affected by freedom, unaccountability, fighting, haram relationship, drugs, alcohol, individualism, etc., etc. However, by and large, the Muslim community has not accepted the capitalist aqidah for the Islamic aqidah. It has not let go of the Islamic aqidah for capitalism. It has not. And the Muslim ummah in Europe and outside of Europe, it loves Islam. And it loves the Islamic aqidah. And the Islamic aqidah is very, very powerful. The Islamic aqidah is very, very convincing. Very, very built on the ration that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in the fitrah of a human being. So in order for the Muslims to leave their deen, you need to bring a superior idea, a superior way of life, which of course is an impossibility. Because the system that we live under, or the system that we want to live under, we wish to live under, is from the creator of all of mankind. And nobody from his creation can produce anything better than the creator himself. Yeah? As a final word, the Muslim ummah, the Muslim community in Europe, it continues to hold on to the deen. It continues to try and combat the ideology of capitalism. Every single day you leave your house is a battle. Every single day you leave your house, everything is pointing you towards the capitalistic way of life, trying to distract you from the Islamic way of life, and every single day you need to battle against that. And I'm sure it's quite similar in the Muslim world as well. In Europe, it's an ideological battle. However, just like the Muslims from the Muslim world, they left the Muslim world and came to Europe for a better life. Inshallah, when the Islamic system, the Islamic Khilafah Rashida is established in the Muslim world again, then once again the Muslim that came to Europe for a better life, they will leave Europe. And they will leave the ideology of Europe behind them, and they will make hijrah back to Dar al-Islam, back to the Islamic Khilafah, and that is where, inshallah, we all want to return to, and we all wish we can live under. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين جزاك الله خير.
Alhamdulillah, Ustaz. Mr. Luqman Nakim, mashallah. It was mind-blowing regarding what happens in Europe. There was, I think, in the media, there was never, it's only before when there is a story about the French, but it's only on that time only. But before that or after that, we never know what happened actually the Muslim in Europe, because as we know from the story from the Ustaz Pompy before, when he visit other in Europe, he visit also there is a mosque, and they can I'm sure so it opened our mind, which is there is a mosque, but the thing is the what they call it, the attitude, which is the attitude others to the Muslim people over there, it's not really like used to be, should be, you know. So everyone, for all the participants, I really hope that you can give any question and you can leave in the comment of the YouTube. And before that, I would like to inform you. So for tonight, there is some attention, some news. I have to read it first. Let me see where it is. Yeah. First of all, don't forget to follow our Instagram, which is the Dakwah Islam Instagram. Let me spell it a little bit. It's like Dakwah Islam ID. And the second one, which is the Sekolah Pernikahan Nubuwah, it's one of the program of Dakwah Islam. And also the last one will be it's at institute.sirah.dakwah Islam ID. And that's also talking about the Sirah Nabawiyah in Dakwah Islam. And I'm still waiting for the question, which is in the comment of the YouTube. Please, everyone, don't feel hesitate to give any kind of question or regarding the Europe or even regarding the travel as well. And before there is also from Mr. Akbar, from Ustad Akbar was mentioned about the hadith of Rasulullah regarding the victory of Islam, which is the Constantinople and the Rome's. So you can also asking about that. And also for everyone who there is a gift from us, from Dakwah Islam. The gift are as Ustad Pompy mentioned before. There is one book which is special from him, which is it's come from Cambridge. You know, the gift from Cambridge. So he can give it to you, but he will choose, or for us, we will choose the one who can give us the question, which is the good question. And then also the other one, there are like totally, we have the gift like 2 books, and there are 10 of a himar or hijab for the ladies. So for the men, they can get some book, which is the 2 books. What are the books? So let me tell a little bit. So the first one, which is the Jejak Kekhalifahan Turki Utsmani di Nusantara. So it's about the Utsmani Khalifah in Indonesia. And the second one will be, this is from the Ustad Pompy, which is the heritage of technology in the golden age. The book is full cover of the color, so it will be good book for you to see and to learn about the historical and everything. And also there are like 10 pieces of himar or hijab, which is we can give it. So how I can get that gift? Like, that's a good question. The gift, you can simply get it by, there are 3, we have a 3 lecture today. And also all of you, I just need to give some conclusion in your Instagram. You can simply post it in the Instagram story, and you can follow. First of all, you have to follow the 3 Instagram ID that I mentioned before earlier. And the second one, just put your conclusion regarding our tonight story or tonight lecture. And after that, you can tag our Instagram, which is for Mr. Luqman and Ustad Pompy and Ustad Akbar and also me. Just tag it so we can choose which one are the winner for the gift. That's for the giveaway. So let me see for the question in the YouTube. Is there any kind of the question here? Just a moment. Yeah, the question you can put directly in the comment of the YouTube, yeah, which is there before we using as a translator. So probably you can put the comments as well there. Just leave the comments, whatever, and to whom, just say your name and to whom that you can, you can ask with Indonesian as well. You can ask with Indonesian and I will translate. If you're asking to Mr. Luqman, and I will translate directly, don't worry. Yeah, there is a question. So let me read first. I would like to ask a question for Mr. Luqman or Sir Luqman. I just wonder how Muslims in Europe can hold Aqidah Islam so strongly, even though the government rules always prohibit it or make Muslim difficult. So probably the answer will be directly from Mr. Luqman, and the rest of it, you can leave it the comment directly. So after the finish the answer, and then I will go to another question as well. Tafadol, Mr. Luqman, for the time to answer.
Okay, inshallah. So, yeah, it's a good question. How do Muslims in Europe stick to the Islamic Aqidah? You know, like I said before, the problem isn't that the government, they don't necessarily disagree with you believing in a God. Yeah, they don't have a problem with people in Europe believing in a God. Yeah, if you want to believe in Allah or Jesus or Yahweh or Hindu God or Buddhist God, they don't have a problem with this really. However, see, with Islam it's different, because Islam is not just a religion. Yeah, Islam isn't just you pray salah 5 times a day and then khalas. No, Islam is you worship Allah in everything. Everything you worship Allah in. This is the problem that they have. How do Muslims hold on to the Islamic Aqidah? The Islamic Aqidah is very powerful. Sometimes maybe we underestimate the Islamic Aqidah. The Islamic Aqidah is very, very, very powerful. As Muslims in Europe, we can prove Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists. If when non-Muslims, they come to us, they say, oh, we are atheists, we don't believe in a God. We'll say, you don't believe in a God? Okay, let's have a discussion. Let's have a debate. Why don't you believe in a God? I can prove to you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He exists. Why? Because of point number 1, 2, 3, 4. Very, very powerful. The non-Muslims, European, they will come to you. Why do you read Quran? Why do you read this book? We can prove the Quran is a miracle. Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإن كنتم في ريب مما نزلنا على عبدنا فأتوا بسورة من مثله. If you have doubt of what we have revealed, produce a chapter. Make another Quran. Make a surah. Write a chapter just like the Quran. They can't do this. So for the Muslims, it's very, very powerful. Especially in Europe, very, very powerful, because the Islamic Aqidah, it agrees with the mind. Very, very convincing. Nobody can argue against Islamic Aqidah. Nobody had an argument against the Islamic Aqidah. This is where, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives the power and the sabr and the ability for the Muslims within Europe, within the world, to hold on to Islam. Not just in Europe. No, look at our brothers and sisters in Myanmar, in Burma, in Xinjiang, Uyghur Muslims. They're holding on to Islam, just like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, that they will, a time will come when holding on to Islam will be like holding on to hot coal, hot rocks. Your hand will be burning, But this is how the Muslims, they hold on to the Islamic Aqidah like this. Inshallah, Allah preserves it in that.
Yeah, that's the answer for Mrs. Hani Rizkianti. It's about the Aqidah of Islam. So there is also the question regarding this one, sir. And what is your message for us as Indonesian Muslim and Ummah to realize how important it is to hold firmly to Islamic faith rather than capitalism that's very common in nowadays? So as we know that in Indonesia, we a lot of people are thinking about the capitalism, but actually there are some Islamic faith. So how about to hold firmly this kind of the faith which is in our community?
Yes. So this is a very good question again. Muslims in Indonesia are 250 million people. Yeah? 250 million people in Indonesia. So the Indonesian Muslims in Indonesia have a huge population. Massive population. The main message really from Muslims in Europe to Muslims in Indonesia and to Muslims in the Muslim world in general is, of course, number one, look, Muslims in Europe, we live in capitalism. We live under capitalism. In fact, I'm living in the UK. I'm living in the the mother of capitalism or the father of capitalism. England, France, Germany, capitalism started here and is failing here. Is failing here. By Allah, you know, it's difficult for Muslims to live in Europe, but also it's difficult for non-Muslims to live in Europe. Non-Muslims in the UK, they have many problems as well. You know, 17 million people in Britain, they live below or on the poverty line. Yeah? 17 million people. This is about 20% of the population in the UK. And the UK, Britain is like number 5, number 6 economy in the world. Yeah? So capitalism has failed. Capitalism has failed for Europe. Capitalism has failed for the Muslim world. Capitalism will fail for Indonesia. So the main message from Muslims in Europe to the Muslims in Indonesia, to the Muslim in the Muslim world, is you need to reject capitalism. You need to bring back the Islamic system. You need to bring back the Islamic way in which the world will work. Muslims in oppression, Muslims in Kashmir, Muslims in Xinjiang, Muslims in Burma, Muslims in Europe, they can make hijrah. They can make hijrah to the new Dar al-Islam. But this has to come from the Muslim world. This has to come from the Muslims working in the Muslim world. So the question from the European Muslims to the Muslim in the Muslim world is, what are you doing? What are you doing to bring back the Islamic system? You know, this is a very big question. And inshallah, if you are working to bring back the Islamic system, then inshallah in a few years time, me and brother Dabrian, we will be in, you know, Damascus or Jerusalem together in the capital of the Islamic Khilafah. We will be drinking tea together and we will be discussing all day inshallah. But this is the main message from Muslims in Europe to the Muslim in the Muslim world.
MashaAllah, exactly. We really hope to feel that kind of things in dunya, yeah? Not only in the not only in Jannah, but also in dunya, which is the victory of the Islam from the ideology. So there are a lot of questions actually, and then also they're asking in Indonesia. So probably I need to compare in English, translate. But the thing is, I have to choose because there are like 4 or 5 questions more, and we have a little limited of time in here. But probably I will choose, let me see, 1, 2. Okay, because of probably it's a time for Mr. Luqman just for relax for a bit because there's a question for Ustaz Pompy. Yeah, Ustaz Pompy, there's a question for you. I will translate as well, don't worry. So in Indonesia, they said that, Assalamualaikum, ingin bertanya kepada Ustaz Pompy, bagaimana cara kita sebagai seorang safar di negara lain mampu menampakkan pemikiran kepada mereka bahwa Islam adalah agama yang paling baik. The translate is, Assalamualaikum, I need to ask to Mr. Pompy. Mr. Pompy, how about if we go to directly, if we travel around the world, which is another city or other country, how we can show other people about the Islam is a good one. From the attitude and from the manner and everything. So, silakan Ustaz Pompy, silakan dijawab. Terima kasih.
Ya, terima kasih atas pertanyaannya, Mbak Dia. Sekian. Oke, sebenarnya kalau kita itu ketika melakukan traveling ya, itu kan beda sama bermukim memang ya. Artinya interaksi dengan orang-orang atau penduduk sekitar itu paling ketika pas makan ya di warung ya, bukan warung ya, resto maksudnya, kayak warteg aja biasanya nggak ada warteg ya, atau ketika di tempat-tempat ya wisata dan sebagainya. Namun karena memang seringnya kita itu berkunjung selalu, setiap kota yang kita kunjungi itu nyari masjid ya, seperti itu. Jadi yang kita temui itu kebanyakan juga Muslim juga ya, artinya ya kita ketika kita ke masjid ya ketemunya sama orang-orang yang lagi mau sholat dan sebagainya. Dan Anda tahu mungkin kalau Anda di sini ketemu orang di sholat di masjid dan sebagainya itu biasa aja, tapi akan menjadi spesial ketika Anda itu bertemu ya seorang Muslim di negeri orang. Rasanya itu wah mungkin ya, kayak saudara aja ya, begitu wah ngobrol langsung nyambung dari mana asalnya dan sebagainya. Itu beberapa kali setiap saya kemarin saya sempatkan ngobrol dengan orang-orang setempat. Tapi memang kebanyakan ya di Muslim di Eropa itu memang pendatang ya. Kalau di Inggris ya, di London, di Manchester, di Edinburgh, dan sebagainya itu rata-rata memang orang-orang Pakistan, ya, orang-orang India, kemudian orang-orang Timur Tengah. Kalau di Yunani itu banyak kan juga ada orang yang dari orang-orang Suriah, orang-orang Afghanistan, ya, dan sebagainya itu. Tapi memang ada juga penduduk lokal di sana yang masuk Islam kemudian ketemu di sana. Nah, kalau di situ memang bukan menunjukkan pemikiran Islam dan sebagainya, mungkin masih jauh ya. Tapi the attitudes yang kita perhatikan adalah attitude sikap kita ketika misalnya di warung makan, di resto, ketika di jalan seperti apa, itu kita memang menjadi orang yang karena pasti teridentifikasi ya, karena kan saya pasti ke mana-mana kecuali ke Yunani dulu ya, ketika ke Eropa itu pasti bawa anak sama istri yang dimana identitasnya melekat, yaitu pakai jilbab, pakai kerudung, nanti wah orang Muslim dan sebagainya. Maka sebisa-bisanya kita juga menjaga sikap kita ya, ketertiban ya, kemudian keep smiling dan sebagainya, karena itu yang dilihat oleh orang. Kalau kita sebutkan itu adalah buahnya ya. Kalau pemikiran, akidah dan sebagainya itu kan akar yang tidak terlihat ya. Kemudian ibadah itu sholat, kemudian zikir kita dan sebagainya itu kan batangnya dan cabangnya. Nah, buah yang bisa dinikmati orang itu adalah sikap kita, attitude kita. Ya, nah makanya yang paling penting ketika kita berada di depan publik orang ya, apalagi orang non Muslim ataupun orang-orang yang di sekitar, tunjukkan bahwa kita itu mempunyai attitude yang ultimate ya, lebih dari baik ya. Artinya itulah ajaran Islam ya, yang merepresentasi kepada diri kita. Oh ini ya saya. Kayak gitu mungkin Mas ini. Jadi memang kalau kepemikiran mungkin butuh intensitas yang bukan harus mukim dulu ya untuk berdiskusi dan sebagainya. Tapi kalau untuk selepas pandang ya memang sikap kita, tindak tanduk kita, ya attitude lah yang membuat orang itu karena udah identitas sudah melekat. Oh itu ada orang Islam, Muslim. Mungkin seperti itu.
Ya, baik, Ustadz, Masya Allah. Berarti memang kesimpulannya itu untuk traveler itu karena memang tidak bermukim just traveler, so better lebih baik itu untuk memberikan cerminan bahwasannya Islam yang dari cara berpakaian, mannernya kita, terus adabnya kita ketika kita menghadapi atau mau mendatangi beberapa rekreasi tentang buang sampah sembarangan dan lain sebagainya, lebih ke seperti itu ya, karena memang tidak mendalam ke pemikirannya gitu. Alright. Regarding the time, it's already 9:14, which is we're gonna close by 9:15. So I really thank you so much for everyone who attend this lecture. I really hope that our lecture topics will be our mind blowing later on, and it's gonna be work on our future, which is we can use it and we can do or we can apply in our Indonesian community, because as we learn about the Europe, so we compare the Muslim with Indonesian and Europe, how it's going on over there, what happens, and the reason and the historical, everything is already described over there. So the last thing that I mentioned, the one thing, then don't forget to follow our Instagram, and don't directly go from our group, which is we have met in the WhatsApp group, because over there will be a report, which is who gonna win, who is the winner of the to get the books from Ustaz Pompy and the books from us, and which is the other Himar. And also for another question which is saying in the YouTube, probably I will contact directly later to Ustaz Luqman, if you don't mind, that I can answer directly, and then we will open the discussion, not open the discussion, but probably will whoever who asks in the YouTube, you can directly send, or you can directly contact the admin, which is you are the one who asking, so the answer will get directly from the admin. Yeah, so that's it from me. And the last thing, don't forget, if you guys really willing to have a donation, or probably like a sadaqah, or want to give, willing to give the sadaqah, you can see in the below there is the link. No, there is the number of the bank account, and also there is a Dana as a financial technology. You can find it. You can ask to the admin as well. And from the outside, from the foreigners, if you like to have it donated with us, which is in Indonesian, you can simply go to the Western Union. You can send it the money by your currencies. Probably they will directly change the currency to Indonesian rupiah. And in here, don't forget to contact us, because probably we need to provide our ID, Indonesian ID, to pick up the donation for dakwah, especially in Islam in Indonesia. So that's it what I shared tonight. So I really apologize for any kind of mistake that we have during the lecture and during whatever I'm saying and whatever our do tonight. So I really hope everything that we do, it's really good. It's really good in Allah. It's really increase our good deeds. So, and for the last time, I really hope for everyone, please follow us to close this lecture with lafaz hamdalah with together. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. And also don't forget to pray the closing of the lecture. Subhanakallah bihamdika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. So I'm really sorry for everything, and thank you so much for stay tuned with us. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Pentingnya istri salihah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Sigit dan perkenalkan istri saya.
Saya Devina, saya angkatan SPN kedua.
Kalau saya angkatan ke-1 atau pertama. Sebelumnya alhamdulillah banget saya mengikuti SPN atau sekolah pernikahan nubuah. Di situ saya tahu tanggung jawab sebagai suami. Terus selain itu, kalaupun kita udah menikah, banyak banget ilmu yang kita dapat tetap didampingi sama ustadz dan ustazah. Mungkin ada tambahan dari istri saya, gimana?
Jadi alhamdulillah kita itu paham fitrah-fitrah antara suami dan istri, gimana caranya supaya tidak tertukar, mendapatkan sakinah, mawadah dan warahmah. Bahkan sampai ke pernikahan ya, kita itu ta'aruf cuma 2 minggu, dari ta'aruf sampai akad didampingi sama ustaz dan ustazah. Alhamdulillah. Jadi buat teman-teman ikut SPN. Dari kami, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sahabat ini berkumpul menamakan majelisnya majelis menolong, majelis bercita-cita.
Indonesia tidak ada kalian. Iya,